Let's get this party started. That's not my favorite. I think I forgot what it was. That's funny. I definitely forgot what that was for a second, which is why my face looks so shocked. Thank you for clicking on the video. Thank you for joining me here today. I am really excited because I had this fun idea. I feel like I have seen this video, but part of it is like I haven't seen the entire thing of what I'm going to cover in this video. So I'm calling this kind of like my mid-year check-in, halfway point check-in. 2024 is halfway over. It is the middle of the summer, hence the baseball fit. Going to a baseball game here shortly. But I thought it would be fun to kind of check in with a couple things. So number one, where am I on my GoodReads goal, and do I want to make any changes to that? Number two, where am I with my 24 books I want to read in 24 list? Do I want to make any changes to that? And then do I want to make a goal on top of like just the amount of books? I think I kind of want to make a physical TBR goal before the end of the year, just like to get some more books off my physical TBR. I feel like those videos are really popular right now, and it's not necessarily because, I mean, part of it's like the economy, right? Like, you can't necessarily be afraid, or you cannot necessarily afford to be going and buying all these books all the time. Or at least the general like person can't. I know like I can't go book shopping all the time. It's like a once in a while kind of thing. But I also just feel like when you have a smaller TBR, physical TBR, I should say, that you are able to like get excited about the new books to come, and you don't feel guilty for reading a book that you just got, or like going to the library to get a book when you have like all these books sitting on your shelf. I try to remind myself like I have the rest of however long my life is to read these, and you know, I kind of want it to be like a legacy that I pass along. And so I don't mind having books on my shelf that I haven't read, but some have been on there for too long to the point that like I'm uninterested, and I'm not like a huge fan of unhauling. I have unhauled a couple books quietly within the past year, I would say, when I like redid. My husband built these shelves behind me, so like when that happened, I feel like I got rid of a couple things that just didn't really like, I didn't care to have on my shelf. But for the majority, I've been collecting these books since I was in college, and I am 31 now. So yeah, I'd like to keep these books. I've obviously lost a couple through the years. I don't know, like moving and stuff. But so that's me jabbering on about what the halfway point is and where I am and what's coming up. So let's first start with my GoodReads goal. I feel like that's a good place to start. My GoodReads goal this year. Oh my gosh, do you all want to know my GoodReads TBR number? I have stuff on here since it used to be Shelfari, and then like Shelfari ended and they let you import Shelfari to GoodReads when you made an account, and so I did that, and so I have stuff on here. I don't even know if I don't think it tells you. Yeah, April 4th, 2016 is where I had to have got GoodReads, because I have stuff on here. I have like a lot on here from way back then. So we've been racking up this TBR in my mind for quite a while, and I've slowly like went through and deleted some stuff because like it doesn't need to be as big as it is. It is at 384 books. It would take me years to read that many. Probably like 4 years if I just read those books. So, you know, I just kind of put them on there. And some of them I'll put the whole series, and I haven't even read the first one, so it's like, will I even like the series? And then I don't go back and take them off if I don't want to continue, etc., etc. It's not serious, but I do like to put them on there. So yeah, 384 is on my GoodReads TBR. I will go through and count my physical TBR, because let's start there too. And I will say that I'd like to get 50% of that read by the end of the year. So I'll put how many I have, and then I'll put how many I have to go. That's about like 50%. And I'm scared to know that number, but I don't think my physical TBR is that big. A lot of them are sitting right here. So we're killing two birds with one stone, people. All right, moving on. So my Goodreads goal for the year was 52. And I am currently at 28 books, and it says I'm on track. So last year I feel like I read 72, and I can't believe that I'm like not on track to hit 72, because I just felt like I originally wanted to make it 75, but I didn't want to like stress myself out with not meeting the goal. I'd rather move it up later. So for now I'm going to keep 52, but in the back of my mind, like, I would like to get to 75. 52 I just picked because it's like once a week, you know, or one book per week. But I have knocked out some longer ones, so it's not all sad things. I've enjoyed and had a lot of really good reads, so, you know, the number doesn't specifically matter, but like, when you have a goal, it's like, I really want to get there. I was so close last year after I moved it up, and then I got to 72, and it was like, on to the 24 books I want to read in 2024 list. So the first book on this list that I added was The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I feel like this is a really popular YA, and it reminds me a lot of, like, when people talk about this one and the fine print, I feel like I kind of get them confused a little bit. However, I have read The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and that book went by so fast and I really enjoyed it. So that's possibly why I put this one on here. I don't really remember why. Like, I don't see myself reaching for this book ever. It's not like in the back of my mind, like, oh, I'm really hoping to get to this. I think it was just because, it's possibly because the new part of the series was coming out. I don't really remember where my mind was at with this one. Regardless, I have not read it, and I'm not the most confident that I will read it because it's definitely not at the top of my, like, mental TBR. I don't know where it was. I don't know what it was in January, but this isn't probably up there right now. I do want to read it eventually. I'm glad I own it, but it's just not, like, I wouldn't say it's a priority for me right now. So we'll see at the end of the year. By the way, future me, if you're watching this, if you've read all of these books on this list, like, you need to go buy yourself something nice, okay? I don't know what that gift is, but you earned it. You freaking earned it. Up next is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I'm so happy to say that I have read this. It was 5 stars, so I feel like it earned its spot on here. I had owned this for a little bit, and I'm glad to have, like, started this book and got into this world. I did try to pick up the second one, and I had to put it down because it wasn't grabbing my attention at that exact moment in time, but I am also hoping to still get through Siege and Storm by the end of this year. That way maybe I can finish off the series next year, but we'll see, because I bought, like, a box set, so I owned them all. But yeah, this is on the horizon. However, for the official list, this one is done. So I'm 1 for 2, baby. Next up is The Wicked King by Holly Black. Now, Cruel Prince was one of my favorite reads last year. So the fact that I haven't read this yet is a little bit, like, cringe. I did start it recently, but I wasn't, like, captured by it. So I did pause it, and I think I'll come back to it. I think I just, like, maybe wasn't in the mood for it, and I think I need to do, like, a recap video of Cruel Prince, and then jump back into this one and maybe start over, because I'm not too far in, maybe, like, 10%. But yeah, I am really excited to finish this, and I really love this world, so I do want to get back to it, and I definitely see myself getting this one done before the end of the year. Next up is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This book was also so good. Like, another one that I just knew in my mind that I was going to love it. The hype was so real for me. And it's one of the best books I've read this year. Like, it's definitely one of my favorites. The only reason I haven't read the second one is just because I don't want it to be over too quickly, and I'm only going to be on the second book. And I definitely see myself also reading the second one by the end of the year. But for the list, this one is done, baby. Next up, I don't have a physical copy, but I bought it on the Books app on my iPad before I had like Libby and Kindle Unlimited. So it's just like a random virtual book that I bought, and that is The Silent Patient by Alex Nicolaides. I have heard this is a really, really good mystery thriller, and I really want to I like having a hard copy and then like having a real good page turner for a mystery thriller. But recently I've just really been loving to listen to my mystery thrillers, which is why I keep not picking that one up and skipping it, because I paid for the Apple Books one and I want to read it on the iPad because I did that. And I don't know. Do I think I'll get this done by the end of the year? I'll give it a maybe, but I might end up doing it on audio, especially if I can get it at the library and I don't have to pay for it like a second time. I wouldn't mind like flipping back and forth, because when I started it just didn't like grab me right away, but maybe I also just wasn't in the mood for it. I can't remember when I started it. I've owned it for a while, so I just need to read that one. All right, next up on my list, I put Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, but I think I actually meant to put The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, because this is the first in her like STEM romance interconnected standalones, and I haven't read anything by her before, so I feel like it just makes sense that I would start with the first one. I don't know why the second one's name was just in my mind. I don't know why I haven't read these, but I'm also just not like immediately drawn and wanting to pick them up when I am like in a romance mood. So that is a problem. I don't know if I'll be able to get this done by the end of the year, because in terms of like romance especially, I feel like that's a summer thing, and it's just not giving summer the way that my other romances do. So I don't know how this one managed to make it on the list. Probably just because it's a new author I've heard a lot about, and I just want to branch into that. But I don't know that I'm going to be like running to grab this book by the end of the year. Like maybe next year. I hate to say it, but maybe. We'll see. Next up is Mile High. I do not own this book. I don't know how it made it on there. Like I said, I don't know what I was thinking in January. Next year I'll have to record a video of me making this list and like my thought process, because I think I just kind of threw this one on there as a sports romance option. And I think I heard they were making the baseball one in the series was coming out in the summer. I think in my mind I was like, oh my gosh, I could get all the way through that series by summer. That was never happening. I've heard this one has a lot of spice, but the series just gets better. So I do think I just need to get this one done. I feel like it's hockey. And it all takes place in Chicago, and I live by Chicago. It is 603 pages. Oh my god, that is so cringy. I'm so sorry. It is a hockey romance, though. And so maybe we'll see. We'll see if I pick it up in the winter, but I don't know about that one either, guys. Like, I don't know. What was I doing? What was I doing when I made this list? Next up is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This book was so good. I'm so glad I read it. And I've been putting off, you can see it up there actually, Ruthless Vows. I've been putting it off because I heard like people didn't love it as much, but I recently heard some talk that it was really good. So hopefully I will read the second one by the end of the year. But for the one that was on the list, I did read this book, people, and it was worth it. I really enjoyed it. So good for January me in some regards. Okay, next up on this list, also another book. Like, I don't know where I pulled this out of, but it was not anywhere. I mean, it just must have been on my mind at the time. I also don't own it, and it's Legendborn. I don't know. I don't know. I do think it looks really good. However, I couldn't give you a plot, and I don't see myself randomly picking this up by the end of the year. I'll be so completely honest. There's so many other books where I'm really excited to read, and I think this book is probably really good, but it's just not piquing my interest the way that other books, even books that I own, are doing. Come on. What was I doing? I think I was just trying to I don't even know. I don't know, man. Okay, next up is The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I don't own this book. This is the library's copy, and it's actually overdue. But I'm hoping to renew it and then read it and return it to the library because I do think I will really enjoy it. It's a short book, romance, summer. I think I'll read it by the end of the year, especially if I take the time to like go renew my library loan. If I don't do that, like I feel like embarrassed by first not finishing it in the timely manner, and then second, like if I have to like recheck it out a second time, I feel like they can see it on my account. Like you checked that book out before, and did you not read it? You returned it late. I don't know. I just need to get this done. Like I don't have a book I'm in the middle of technically right now, so maybe now's the time if I renew it. Okay. Hopefully it's done by the end of the year. Like you're actually kidding me. I actually just completely finished reading, like recording that video, and I didn't press play, so it's like not. Okay, I'm back. It's fine. We're gonna go through this again. Speed round. Number 11 on my list is All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and C.L. Herman. I am really excited to read this book. I was really excited when I bought it, but I don't ever grab for it, and I feel like that's because nobody talks about it. But I want to read it and see like if this is a book that people should be talking about, because I found it randomly at Barnes, and it just really drew in my attention, and I need to see what it's about. So I do totally intend on reading this by the end of the year, and if I don't, I will be a little bit annoyed with myself. So hopefully I read this really soon. Specifically, like maybe in the fall, I don't know. Number 12 is Legendary by Stephanie Garber. I actually just finished this a couple days ago, and I'm really glad that I read it. I liked it even more than I liked Caraval, because Caraval I thought, decent. This one I really, really enjoyed, and I even imagine that I will read Finale by the end of the year and finish this kind of portion of the series. That way I can jump into Once Upon a Broken Heart and that side of things in the future. But as far as books go, like this one's done, and it deserved to be on this list. It was well chosen by me. Shout out me. Shout out January me, even though on some of these I'm like, what were you thinking? This was not one of those. That one is done. Next up is Reckless by Elsie Silver. This is the 4th book in the Chestnut Spring series. I love the little baby boot on the OG covers. These books are so easy to read, so fun. I feel like you can read them in any season. I don't know what I'm waiting for. The series is like coming to a close, and I'm going to be sad about that, but I know she has that other series going on, and I would like to jump into that, I think, in the future. So I am still hoping and intending on reading this one by the end of the year. It's just not on my like immediate like I want to read this right now, but I do think I will probably read it before the end of the year, and maybe even finish the series. We'll see. Next up is number 14 is None of This Is True by Ms. Lisa Jewell. This is, I only had 2 mystery thrillers on this list, and I randomly found this one and thought it sounded so interesting. I love when it's like mixed media in books, because there's like, you might not be able to tell, but there's like little podcast excerpts in here and all that. I love when it's written that way, and it was really good on audio as well. So I'm really glad that I read this, and I would definitely recommend it. Actually, I already have recommended it to one of my friends when I was on vacation. This one is done, and I'm happy to say that it is. I'll read more by Miss Lisa Jewell. Okay, next up is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I feel like I've been so hyped for this book, and I don't know what has possessed me that I have not read it yet. I should have read it during mushroom season. I should have read it before Ren Fair weekend. It's just not like what I'm immediately grabbing for, and I don't know why. I know it's kind of in between like a really cozy fantasy and a high stakes fantasy, so I want to know like if I like that type of book, and everything about like what this book is, the way that the cover is, the way that it just looks like an old book, and like I just am really, like, there's, like, little margins. I just need to sit down and really enjoy this book in the woods. Like, that's all it comes down to. I really intend on reading this, and I hope I finish it before, like, summer is over, because I feel like fall's just going to be, I'm just going to feel like it's too late to read it, because I wanted to read it in the spring, and we're freaking in the middle of July now. So please future me, make time for this book. I was dramatic, but like, I'm so serious. Next up is Curse of the Wolf King by Tassonia Odette. I am really excited about this one. This is kind of like a different telling of a fairy tale, and I just am really like intrigued by that. I want to know what this book is about. I'm dying to know, and I really hope that I read it soon. I might even read it next, even though it's not on my July TBR. After that, number 17 is The Serpent and the Wings of the Night. I don't own this book, so I don't ever grab it, but it's about vampires, and what am I doing that I haven't read this book already? I seriously do not know. Like, I couldn't tell you what I've been putting it off for. Hi, hello, oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I'm having to record this part of this freaking video for the third time. The first time, forgot to hit play. Second time, had to leave before I could finish it. The third time, I just went to go look at it because I need to edit it, and the file corrupted itself. So I need to re-record the second half of the freaking video again. So this is part of the 24 books I want to read in 2024, and I believe where I left off was number 17, which is The Serpent and the Wings of the Night by Carissa Broadbent. I put this on there because it is a book about vampires. I used to be obsessed with Twilight when I was in middle school and even in high school. I was always Team Edward. I don't know if that's a great choice as an adult, but whatever. And I think that she is still coming out with books in this series, so I would love to get to this book. I don't have it like physically sitting anywhere, so I kind of forget about it. And then I think it is a little bit longer, so it's a little bit intimidating, but I do think the world is going to be amazing, and I think I will really love it, and I'd love to get caught up. I believe I have 3 books to be caught up, and I think that the last one, when I looked it up when I was filming this video before, I think the 3rd book in the series comes out in November. So if I read 1 in August, 1 in September, and 1 in October, I will be caught up for November. So that's kind of like a mini little goal just for this book on my list about how I can like motivate myself to get that one. But although the first one is the only one that's on my 24 books I want to read in 2024, however, that's probably why it is on there in the first place. Number 18 is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. Between the time that I started recording this video and now that I'm re-recording the end of it, days later, I have actually finished this book, I'm happy to say. So this is another one that is done. Out of all the books on this list, I will say this is the one that this is probably the one that I was the least excited while reading. However, I am really happy to have it done because it is a very summary looking book. I know she has more books that she's written, and I'd be interested to read those. Maybe not to buy them physically, but just to listen to on Libby or things like that as a palate cleanser in between other books. Regardless of all of that talking I just did, I did finish this one, so check that one off of my freaking list. Okay, I'm not going to take this one off the shelf. I will tilt you because I so precariously perched it right there. Just kidding, it has like a little thing in it, so I just don't want to take that out. Number 19 is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I cannot believe I have not read this yet. I bought it right when it came out. I have not read her new one either. I'm hoping to read this one this month or early next month. I want to annotate it and really enjoy it. It's definitely a hyped up book for me this year, and I want to be able to read it and enjoy it without feeling forced to read it. And I feel like that now. So I'm really hoping and still intending to have this one read by the end of the year, hopefully very soon. Definitely by the end of the summer, because I can't imagine trying to read this freaking book in the fall or winter. Like, that is just not going to happen. So I need to read it. That way I don't see it staring at me in the freaking winter at the end of the year when we're about to recap this video again. Number 20 is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. So this is a Captain Hook dark fairy tale romance situation. I haven't really read a lot of that genre, and especially not like with fairy tale characters that I used to watch when I was a child. I'm so intrigued by that. I've heard great things about this series. I feel like I might love it. If I don't love it, I'm not going to probably continue with the series, or I'm going to tell myself I don't need to continue with the series. But this is one that I would really love to still get done, at least to start the book and just to see if it's something that I would enjoy, even if I'm not able to completely finish it. Number 21 on my list is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. And this was a Pulitzer Prize winning book that I have owned for freaking forever. I just always thought it was a beautiful book and it was going to be a beautiful story. And I'm so happy to say that it was a beautiful story and I did read this book finally. I'm so excited to say that because it has been staring at me for quite some time. It was worth the read. It is worth my time. And I'm just so happy to have this book read and done and over with. Not because it was bad and I just wanted to get it over with, but just because I feel like this was such a huge accomplishment and weight off of my shoulders. I'm clutching it because of how happy I am that I was actually took the time to read this year. Shout out to monthly TBRs because that is what got me to pick this book up. It's one of those books that I'm enjoying it while I'm reading it, but it's just never magnetized to my hands when I'm looking for a book to pick up. So this one is done, I'm so happy to say. This book is very similar to the other one, and it is 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. I feel like I have had this one almost equally as long in the same time frame, 6-8 years ago, whenever I was buying all these books that I have from the older section of my library. And this is another historical fiction that I feel like I will thoroughly enjoy and feel all the feels from. I feel like I will 100% enjoy this book, but it's so hard for me to pick up. However, if I'm able to get this one done like I was able to get the other one done, I will be so excited with myself by the end of the year. This book does still sound so good, and I do really want to read it. So I'm hoping in a future monthly TBR, my hand is forced and I am able to finish this by the end of the year. I will feel so accomplished with both of those being off of my freaking list. Okay, we're wrapping up. Number 23 is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This was, I listened to this book on audiobook and I really, really enjoyed it. It totally deserved to be on my list. The hype was so real for this book. I 100% enjoyed it. I listened to it on audio and I feel like that's if you're able to listen to it on audio, that's the only way you should consume this book, in my opinion, because the narration is just so incredible. I'm so happy to have read this book, and it was one of my favorites of the year. And speaking of favorites of the year, this is a book I thought would be a favorite of the year. However, it wasn't, but I am still glad I read it for finishing strong because I did read Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros earlier this year, and I am ready and pumped. I'm sure the third book will be on my 25 books I want to read in 2025. I feel like this is the, not to reference Twilight again, but this is the new moon of the Twilight series. If you know, you know. That book drug. This book kind of drug. I feel like it's setting us up for a good third book. I'm excited to move on with the series. I'm happy to have this one done. It wasn't a bad book. Just not one of my favorites. However, I needed to read it to be able to continue with the series. So I'm glad to have that one done. Okay, and that wraps up all the 24 books I want to read in 2024. Can't remember if I talked about this in the beginning clip, but one of the goals I have for myself for the end of the year is to read 50% of my physical TBR. I actually just recorded a physical TBR video, so that will either be up before this one or right after it, and you can see all the books from my physical TBR. I believe I have 52, so if I'm reading half, that'd be 26. That would help me get to my new GoodReads goal. I did decide to move it up to 75 because I do want to push myself a little bit. I'm spending too much time scrolling. Oh my gosh, the amount of time you spend on your devices is just so gross to me. Or at least the amount of time I spend on my device. I feel like I'm not even that attached to my phone, but I'm, for some reason, scrolling on weird things all the time. But I want to make reading one of my priorities because I just love stories. I love storytelling, I love story listening. It's just so fun. So that wraps up this video, hopefully for the final time with the 4th freaking recording of this little segment, or 3rd official recording, whatever, of this segment. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, bye!